Okay, yes, Evan, so we're going to talk about how to make an indicator out of red cabbage. So an indicator is something that will tell us whether another chemical is acidic or alkaline. And we're going to use red cabbage because the dye in red cabbage actually can act as an indicator. So what you need your red cabbage, and you need to slice off a few thin slices, as you can see I've done here. This is the bit that you might need help with. It's quite difficult to do. With a knife, and it will have to be a sharp knife. So I don't really want you doing this on your own. This is something that you'll have to ask a parent or maybe an older brother or sister to give you some help with. So once you've sliced a little bit, a few slices, what you need to do is you need to start dicing those slices. So we're trying to get it into kind of small cubes. So I'm just dicing this away now, and I know my hand's probably in the way a little bit. Being really careful of fingers. So I've got lots of small cubes, yeah? So lots and lots of small bits, and I've chopped it up. So you can see it's now in quite a lot of small pieces. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put those pieces all into a bowl, okay? So just going to move this so you can see this, and going to get as much as I can into that bowl, okay? And I'm going to make a mess because I always make a mess when I'm in the kitchen, but I will clean that mess up. So that is a bowl of lots and lots of cabbage. And what I need now is some hot water. Doesn't have to be boiling water, it can just be hot water from the tap. Remember, if you don't usually use a kettle, don't use the kettle without assistance. Okay, so it can just be hot water from the tap. The bowl will get very hot once the water's been sitting in it for a little while. So I'm going to use water from my kettle, and I don't need a lot of water. It just kind of needs to partially cover my cabbage. So I'm just going to show you what that looks like now. So you can see where the water level is. Yeah, so you can see that it's just, some of the cabbage is sticking out the top, and I'm trying to get the colour out. So I'm going to use a fork, and I'm going to do a whole lot of squishing around, and I'm kind of squishing and moving that around to try and get as much of the colour out as possible. And you'll start to see the colour coming out. The darker you can get the colour, the better. So usually leaving it a little bit of time is the best way to do this. So I'm going to squish this around, and then I'm going to leave it a little bit of time, and I'll come back and show you what this looks like in about 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, so I've left this for about 5 minutes. You might want to leave it a little bit longer if you're using hot water from the tap instead of from the kettle. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and get rid of all the bits. So first of all, I'm going to show you what it looks like. So hopefully you can see that water's going nice and purple. And I'm going to take that, and I'm going to sieve it into another bowl. And I've chosen a white bowl so you can actually see the colour. I don't have very many white bowls, but this one should work. So because you didn't put lots of hot water in, the bowl shouldn't be too hot to pick up, but do test it carefully before you pick it up completely. And then I'm going to pour it down. Now, if you do spill this on your counter, if you spill that coloured water on your counter, please do wipe it up quickly, because otherwise it can cause a little bit of a stain if your counter's a light colour. It does come off over time, but we need to wipe it up quickly. So what we should see is we've got that colour. Isn't that a lovely colour? So we've got that lovely colour of purple, and that's in water. So that shows us what neutral looks like. So something that's not acid or alkali will have that colour. Now what we're going to do is a little bit of experimenting. So we're going to find out whether different things that we have around the house are acids or alkalis. But first of all, we need to know what an acid looks like and know what an alkali looks like. Okay, so the things I'm going to use to test are things that I know are acid or alkali. So I know that vinegar is an acid. Now my thing is that my vinegar is nice and clear coloured. If your vinegar is not a lovely clear colour or isn't a light colour, so if for example you've got balsamic vinegar or you've got dark malt vinegar, then you probably don't want to use vinegar, and you might want to use something like lemon juice instead, for example. If you and then I need to look at something that is alkali as well, and I know that when it dissolves in water, that my bicarbonate of soda is an alkali. So I know I've got these ingredients because I had them last time. And just to show you that once again my cat is here to help me out and distract me. Okay, so there's always someone watching apparently. So what I'm going to do is I'm using a little glass to react in. I've put down some white paper just so that I can actually see what's happening to the colour. So I'm going to start off by putting a little bit of vinegar in this glass, and remembering that lovely purple colour that we have. So I've just put a little bit in. I've used a really small glass so I don't have to use very much. And I'm going to take a teaspoon. Okay, so I'm just using a teaspoon, and I'm going to put my colour in, and you can see that purple has turned a kind of bright pink colour. Yeah, I hope that you can see that we've got that bright pink. I'm just going to move so that you can see from above the difference. So you're going to get a lovely pink colour if you have something that's acidic. So a lovely pink colour if you've got an acid. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to avoid cross-contamination, and because I've only got one small glass, I am going to wash this, and I'm going to wash it very, very well. We're rinsing with lots and lots and lots of clean water. Okay, so I'm going to pause this and I'll come back in a minute when I've washed that. Okay, so I've got a lovely clean glass, and I'm now going to use a clean teaspoon. This is a different teaspoon, not the one that I used for my cabbagey water. I don't want to contaminate my bicarbonate of soda. Okay, so I'm looking at my bicarbonate of soda. I'm just going to take a little teaspoon here, just about half a teaspoon, and I'm going to put it in my glass. Okay, so you can see that that's gone in there. Now this is a powder, so at the moment it's not an alkali, because an alkali has to be dissolved in water. But as soon as I add some of the water from my cabbage juice, it's going to dissolve, I hope. So let's have a look at what happens. So again, I'm going to add a teaspoon. I might need to add a little bit more than a teaspoon to dissolve it, but what we should be able to see is that we've got a lovely blue colour. Let me show you that from above. Okay, so again, you can see now if I've got an alkali, I have a lovely blue colour, so we can compare those colours. So you can see that the colour has changed, and it's told me that we've got an alkali. So what I'm going to ask you to do now, I'm going to ask you to have a go at finding out whether different things in the kitchen are acid or alkali. I've given you some suggestions on OneNote for what to do, so for things to test that might be acid, might be alkali, or might be neutral. If the colour doesn't change, then it's neutral. So I want you to test a range of different things. I've left some spaces for you to test things that of your own, things of your own idea. It's got to be something that dissolves in water. If you don't have one of these things, don't worry about it. Okay, just try something else. We're doing a little bit of an experiment and see what around us is acid, alkali, or neutral.